thing number three, Gary, we're going back to talking about Congress and Wall Street like we do quite often. Should Congress stop Wall Street from buying all the homes?
Yeah, so we're gonna round of applause for DKI intern Andrew Brown, who was the one who suggested this particular thing. Andrew will be back on camera with us next week. He's studying for his stats final tonight. Good luck, Andrew. We know you're going to do well. But basically, Rob, home ownership is a core part of the American dream. And I do think it's important. I own my own home. My parents did, my grandparents did. I think there is something about having your own place that really matters to Americans. And it has been a way that people have built wealth over time, or at a minimum, you can insulate yourself from rising rent prices. You control your own home. And I think that's really important to people. And so there's been a lot of panic, understandably, about an increase in big Wall Street firms that have effectively unlimited access to capital, buying up thousands and thousands of single family homes and pricing people out of the market. And so lawmakers in some states, as well as Congress, are considering legislation to either force these companies to sell their existing inventory or to tax them differently, imposing additional taxes on them, and basically make it more expensive, difficult, or impossible for these corporations to buy up large amounts of housing stock. And that's what people are focused on right now.
Gary, tough situation here. DKI, I think generally not a proponent of government intervention. Again, we've talked about this in the past, though. Seems like a great position for the asset gatherers, right? Or the older generation that do own these homes. And why should they be penalized for selling these homes to anybody but the highest bidder, right? But at the same time, young people, once again, right? What
Yeah.
do you think? What do you think's going to happen? What is your take? What should be done? What will be done? I know it's a tough situation, tough call here.
I think this is a really hard one, Rob. And it's one where I don't necessarily have clarity. Normally I'm a pretty opinionated person. Most people in this business are. This one is really tough. On one hand, I understand that no individual in their 20s or 30s are going to be able to outbid these big firms with massive access to capital. And I don't think seeing a few large investment firms turning a huge percentage of the American public into renters is a good idea. I understand the case for more government regulation. There is another side to this one as well. One, forcing companies that own assets to sell them in a fire sale isn't necessarily a good precedent to set. More importantly, we're used to thinking about this from the point of view of the young people who want to buy. And it's important to consider their needs and for them to have the ability to own a home and start their lives and be financially secure and start families. And I think that matters. But there are people on the other side of this as well. Now, imagine you're a homeowner and two people come to you, and one person says, well, I will pay you a certain amount for your home. And the other person says, I will pay you more. And now imagine the government saying you can't take the higher bid, right? It's not just money out of the young people's pocket. Right? You're also taking from homeowners and telling them that, you can sell to certain people, but you can't sell to other people. And once you start thinking that one through, and taking that language, right? You can sell to these people, but not those people. You end up in a really not so good place. Um, Beyond that, I'd also point out that there are some misleading statistics floating around, Rob. Um, there have been rumors going around that these large corporate buyers have bought up more than 40% of the housing stock, or that they're 40% plus of sales. This is not true. We've got the graph on this. We have the chart from Freddie Mac, which is actually a credible place to look. And what you're looking at, institutional investors are about 2.5% of the market. And iBuyer, which would be, another kind of corporate buyer, is I think under 2% of the
A
market.
little listen to.
Yeah. So look, I think this is going to be a tricky one. It's a nuanced issue. I don't have a clear opinion on it yet. But it is important to point out that things have not gotten as out of control as people are making it out to be. It's not 40%. It's a few percentage points of the market. I do think that these large firms should be careful if they start to be too large a part of the market, they should expect that they're going to have unpleasant regulation coming their way. So this might be a place where the large firms could exercise a little self-control, a little self-regulation before this has to be done through legislation.